Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is the last video of World Cup team review, and today obviously we are going to talk about the winners, Aussies. So they won the first T20 World Cup, first men's T20 World Cup. Uh, so I will start with a quick summary of their journey in the tournament. But we have to, before we start Australia's performance into this tournament, I believe the build-up of this tournament and the series before this tournament are very integral and important uh, to kind of reflect on their performance in this World Cup. So if you look at the build-up, they had lost five series back to back, and they lost to some one can say below team as compared to Australia, West Indies, Bangladesh, and they lost badly in Bangladesh. Uh, so going into the tournament, a lot of people didn't rate Australia very high. They didn't expect Australia to do well because of the build-up. But the key thing to notice here is that throughout these series, throughout these matches that they lost, they never fielded their best team due to multiple reasons. Sorry, due to multiple reasons, they didn't field their best team, and that is crucial because that led them to build some extra depth, and that led them to understand their bench strength better. And the most important factor is that didn't deter their confidence. So, and if you look at Finch or Langer's comment prior to World Cup or after World Cup, you can see that they always believe that okay, once we have our best team back, we are better than our performance suggests in last 6-7 months. So, and talking about the World Cup, I believe the most crucial factor was that they peaked at the right time. And by end of the World Cup, Australia were playing the way they are, they are known to play, the aggressive cricket. If you look at the semi-final, and that started, I think, with the Bangladesh match. But in the two big matches, they were right on top. They played aggressive cricket right from the word go. A lot of people, say that Finch has been lucky in terms of winning the toss, but I don't think toss would have mattered the way Australia were playing. If they would have batted first, they would have probably got more runs than their opposition did because of the attacking cricket. If you just compare the scores after 10 over in both the matches, semi-final or final, you will see that they outscored their opposition by quite some runs. Even if they could have tried to keep the wickets in hand, and then especially in the chase, but still they went aggressive, and that comes naturally to Australian cricketers. So that was, I believe, a very crucial factor in their campaign. They peaked at the right time. If you look at the first match against South Africa, they won it by very close margin. It was a 50-50 match until the very last moment, and they won it and that turned out to be a very important factor because South Africa, even after winning four out of their five matches, they didn't uh, didn't go into the top four. So that was a very crucial match, a close match, and they uh, kind of had that. They got the extra belief in their lower middle order, I would say, the way Stoinis and Wade played. It showed that they have some finishing capabilities, and I believe that kind of gave some confidence to the top order to kind of start hitting with the word go and play aggressive cricket. So I think that is summary of the tournament for Australia. Uh, as I mentioned earlier, I think they had quite a few players who, if the team peaks at the right time, it means that there are few players who have peaked at the right time. So I will talk about the key moments or key factors that to allowed them to kind of win the tournament. So key players for them throughout this tournament were Warner, Marsh, Zampa, and Hazelwood. Wade also, especially in the semi-final match. So these were, I think, key positives. I think apart from these players, I think everyone played their role, at par or below par. But these players performed above expectation. And if I start with Marsh, and that's what I said, the build-up was important because Marsh was found in that build-up. When I say found in terms of the role, his role in this T20 World Cup was found in the build-up of the World Cup. So in West Indies and in Bangladesh, he played at number three, which gave them the confidence that they can have the extra they can have a Marsh as an extra batter in the top three, and he provides them with the extra bowling option as well, so that kind of adds to their already good balance that they had. Right, Warner peaked at right time, so I think he was the and well deserved man of the tournament as well, and he was the key factor in terms of winning the big matches because he started with the aggressive intent. He started with the approach that we know Warner can take. He played like a big match player, he played like a big player, and the class player that we know he is. So Warner was very crucial, and then Zampa. I think he has been a great bowler throughout last couple of years, and you can in the post match conference with the Stark, or post match interview with the Stark, he said that, and it is a kind of big statement to say that their fast bowling unit or their entire bowling unit has learned their way to ball around Zampa, which is such a big statement, and they feel that he is their best bowler. He is their bowler who controls the match, and their fast bowling units balls around Zampa. And if you look at Zampa's performance throughout the tournament, he was right on in terms of length and line. Not a big turner of the ball, but he's very difficult to get under and hit or loft or cut, pull, like any shot you it's very difficult to play because he's so consistent in consistency in terms of line and length, and he has good speed as well. So it's difficult to come charge down the wicket against Jampa. And I think their biggest, I would say, positive or the biggest uplift was Hazelwood's performance. What they got out of Hazelwood uh, as a at the start of the tournament or in general in the Australian pecking order, you can say safely that he is their number three in fast bowling, right? But in this tournament, he was their best fast bowler. And I have mentioned that in the previous videos that Hazelwood has evolved great deal in T20 cricket, playing with Chennai in the IPL. I think he has learned a lot of skills, and that augurs well for Australia because they always, you will see that in the big tournaments they always bring their best bowler, like whether they are in Test, ODI, or T20. They always bring their big fast bowlers, best fast bowlers, and they naturally believe in that. And with Hazelwood doing well, it's very organic for them. And apart from that, I think Finch captaincy. So he has been a great. I believe he's a good captain, great tactician. Uh, Even if his performance was not great in the World Cup, but he still led very well. You can see the field placements that he had in the semi-final or in the final, uh, along with the bowling changes. He went with the four pure bowler, and still he managed his fifth bowling option quite well. Their bowling option didn't concede much in the tournament, so that shows that he has established himself as a leader of this team. And I think in next 2-3 years at least, I can see Finch captaining the Australia team at least till 2023 World Cup, ODI World Cup. I believe he will be the captain. He will be their captain unless something uh, unexpected happens. Apart from that, the other key factor was that they identified. So in the match against England, they went with the extra bowling option, but they rectified and acknowledged and rectified that mistake right away. So it's good to kind of go back to plan A, in case what you try doesn't work. So that augured well for them in the semi final and in the final. In the final, March was the player who they left out earlier. So obviously he performed. He was the man of the match. And then Wade batting at 7 because they had the extra batting option won them the semi final. So they made the mistake earlier, but they rectified it. So that's a great thing. Lastly, I want to talk about in terms of just kind of summarizing or highlighting the key factors. There was a lot of news around Justin Langer, the coach, that his team management style and overall his relationships with players is not great, and that might cost Australia the World Cup. But I believe, and what Langer and a lot of people has said after the World Cup win is that they all just needed to get together, and I think Australian way is to express themselves, and I think that must be happening in terms of Langer expressing himself and the players expressing himself. So probably they are closer than they appear, from outside. And I'm not sure what's the status right now. Langer has showed his card. He wants to be there as a coach. I believe at least for next 1 or 2 years. So I think he has suggested that he want to play in the India series. I think that is in 2022 or 3. I'm not sure, but still he has showed his card that he want to continue as a coach even after his tenure ends. And though I don't know what's the exact status, what is the team dynamic, but just looking from outside, the way they played their cricket, the fearless cricket, the aggressive cricket, uh, I'm pretty sure there's something right in the dressing room. The dressing room atmosphere has to be, uh, good for players to play freely and express themselves. I think Andrew McDonald is also there, so probably he also brings a lot of calmness on the table. But yeah, I think the team atmosphere is not as bad as people from the outside thought. So these were the kind of key takeaways. I will quickly talk about what should they focus on next or moving forward. They are the host of the next World Cup, so there will be a lot of expectation from them. There are not many things that they need to work on actually, just a couple of things. So they need to understand Stark's role in this team. I agree that he brings that extra, he brings that variation in their attack because Cummins and Hazelwood, they are similar kind of bowlers in terms of hitting the deck hard and slower balls, not going for Yorkers that much. So they are similar in that regard. Uh, and Stark brings them the left-handed bowling option. But they have to look beyond Stark. So Stark's performance of late has not been good in tests, in T20. So in any format, his performance has not been good of late, right? So and he hasn't developed as many variations as other bowlers in his team, Cummins and Hazelwood, and you can see that he was out of options when players started taking him down. Because he has not played the T20 cricket that much, he has not played different franchise or anything, so he hasn't developed those options. He has his go-to ball is the Yorker, and he always tried, even after he was being hit, he was trying to ball the Yorker. So that shows lack of options, and so my understanding is that they should develop that extra depth around Stark. They have a lot of bowlers, not left-handed, but still they have a lot of other bowlers. Kane Richardson, Riley Meredith, then and AZ is also there, and then Richardson is there. I think, yeah, yeah, I can't recall the name, but I think they have 4 or 5 good bowlers who can potentially be their third bowling option. So I believe they believe in Stark and they rate him quite high. So they might not go away from him quickly, but I think it is time for them to. Uh, back those extra bowling options. Then lastly, I wanted to talk about Smith's role in that team. So I think they need to define a role for Smith, or they need to look beyond Smith. So if Smith is there, not their number three, if Smith is, let's say, number four, or Smith doesn't get to bat as much, or Smith is just an option for them, I don't think that is the best role for a player of Smith's caliber. Because and he's such a great batsman. I think if they give him consistent run, he will still turn things around. But then they have, it becomes a straight swap between Mitch Marsh and Smith. So you can't have Smith in your team and then, expect him to be just that extra option. So if Marsh doesn't work, that's what currently it looks like. If Marsh doesn't work, then Smith is there, extra batter. Otherwise, Smith is not needed, which is good for for any team to have that flexibility and have that extra option. But I think if uh, probably it would be worthwhile trying other players and developing, leveraging this opportunity to develop some extra depth in the finishing department, right? Trying some youngster who can play the role of big hitter and help Stoinis, right, in the death. I think Maxwell is not their finisher. He is more of a middle order batsman who will keep the run rate going in the middle order. So, yeah, they need to think about this Steven Smith's role. Probably it's better to kind of have him playing just in the Tests and ODI. If they and use this opportunity to kind of try some youngsters. So that is it. This was the final video of team review. I will have one more video on the World Cup. Uh, but yeah, it has been a great tournament. It has been great fun to watch. Excited with the fact that we have a new winner. And yeah, thank you everyone. Please do share your thoughts in comment. Any point that you would like to bring, any key factor that I might have missed, feel free to share. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.